Love. Forget all that mess. We going live.
Get all that jazz and all that jazz.
And all that jazz.
Hey, we in there.
Mhm.
Hey, Shireen.
Giovanni. My girl
Hey,
Giovanni.
Shireen. What's good? Voices and vibes. Pulling
Right?
up on Herbal Tea Thursday. Ain't miss a beat. Do.
Thought I'd pop in with my girl Empowered Plates. Bam. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to another episode of the Wellness Live series called the Herbal Tea Thursday.
And put us live on IG. Oh, now I lost it.
Live. You click that live.
Take
We
that
click that
live.
If this is your first time, I am Giovanni, the Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach, CEO for Vibrations. Come through and vibe with me, y'all.
And it is Shireen Simon, Voices and Vibes and Black Print. And it's Thursday. It's Herbal Tea Thursday. And it's been a couple of weeks.
Thursday.
We got our own
Thursday. Thursday. Just kidding. It's the first Thursday.
There's nothing wrong with
in
that.
Black Excellence Month with my girl Shireen.
What up, girl? What up?
Yo, Shireen, you checking us in? Well, how we gonna check in today?
We're checking like this.
So let's check in. One thing that you are grateful for today. Today.
Yeah, today. You know what? I like that you said today, because in my other call we have to do today, and we usually do it at 8:30. So I am grateful that I was able to drive through that snowstorm and in Toronto, because we have one today, and not get into a couple of accidents, because I was this close twice, back to back. I was this close. That red truck, when my car was going this way next to the red SUV, and I was like, nah, baby, nah, baby. And then we went this way, and I was close to like the post, and I'm like, nah, baby. Something's wrong with my vehicle. We're not talking about the fact that
sounds like the Toronto life is definitely a culture within itself when it comes to driving, because playing around and turning wheels and smiling with it does not sit
no.
well
If you have winter tires, you are good.
I don't think I got regular tires.
So
that are great. I might need to like get some good tires going on.
You probably have like all season, but down here we should have like our winter tires on, or up here we should have our winter tires on in like November. And I don't.
I don't know. My mom got a flat tire Saturday, and she wanted me to bring a spare out of the garage. And then when I was bringing the spare out of the garage, she was like, oh, well, the roadside assistance man said I can't use that spare you bringing because it's not on a rim and it's something else she was saying. And I was like, well, Mom, I'm already pulling up. So I pull up and I'm trying to like get to her, and my car gets stuck in the mud trying to get to her. And so now we're both stranded, and I'm like trying to get out. And ever since then, my tires just feel like they still got mud in them or something. Like I can easily like slip and slide, and just like it doesn't want to get up and go. And I'm like, okay, if I would have never went out there, I would have never had these slip and slides. So that's why I said I don't feel like I got all season tires, because it don't even feel good on regular roads.
I think that like you guys you would never survive up here then, but I think that, no, but I think that by default they like you probably have all season. But I would blame that on the driver, not the. So I heard this story once.
So save your mama. Try to get to your mama who's stranded with a tire. You should never gone in the mud trying to get to your mama on the ramp.
I heard this story of how like it got really bad out in Atlanta one day. I think it was Atlanta. And the person who was telling me the story is from Canada. And he's like, nobody knew how to drive in the weather because you guys are not accustomed to driving in that weather. Whereas we were just like, okay. But if you have your winter tires, you can just zoom, 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 zoom. But something is wrong with my vehicle. So that's what I'm grateful for. No accidents today. And I was on the road all day long. So, and I made it back to the studio, safe and sound for this call.
Awesome. I'm glad for that. I'm grateful you were able to navigate through that safely too. And I agree. Like when you're living in a certain region, like you're only equipped to do but so much within that region culturally when it comes to driving based on the weather that you typically see. What's up, Sports Sense? Hey, reset with y'all. Welcome. We just checking in. We're talking about one thing we're grateful for today. So y'all go ahead and drop it in the chat. One thing y'all are grateful for today. Me and Shireen are already grateful that y'all pulled up 2 hour live to be with us right now and vibe with us. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with what I'm grateful for today. Oh my goodness, Shireen. I'm gonna go with this one just because it goes with our theme for tonight. And it just happened, so it's fresh. It's fresh in my atmosphere. I'm gonna say I'm grateful for other people that have polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, that are willing to be visible and vocal about their journey to be a part of my podcast. Today, I was able to actually get my first Black holistic nutritionist to do a pre-recording with her and get to meet with her and have a good conversation. And I just can't wait for that actual episode to record with her. But it's my first nutritionist, and I'm so excited because I feel like you never make the shots you don't take. And sometimes when you're just out here on social media and you see people, saying certain things and helping other people, and you just want to be like, hey, I love your insight. I see what you're putting out there. I would love to learn a little bit more about your journey and, share your expertise with my listeners. Like, I just want to help continue to empower people on their healing journey. And she's like, yeah, I'm down. And I don't know about you, but I typically get sometimes people who have never been on a podcast before. Some have, but most of them never have. And it's like a new thing for everybody. And it's just like a good vibe. So I'm just grateful for everybody that's on my podcast journey, but specifically today, grateful for the pre-recording that I had and being able to have my first Black holistic nutritionist willing and scheduled to be on the podcast. That's what I'm grateful
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because, it helps other people's journeys when they can hear from others, but I also understand when you're not ready to, or if that's just not your position, but I'm happy that you're able to get, especially a nutritionist on your show. Yeah, especially.
We need that in our community because our culture is so ingrained with food. Like everything. I just think it is.
Yeah.
I feel you with that. Reset with that. Grateful for a long weekend.
That is yes. You guys don't have a long weekend.
Having to go to work on Monday too.
Do you guys have a long weekend this weekend as well?
Yeah, we don't have to go on Monday. Well, it's a virtual PD day for teachers. So.
Oh, but it's not a long weekend.
That's why it's a long weekend, because we don't have to go in on Monday. So we get Monday off instead of just your typical Saturday and Sunday.
But that's just for your school board, not necessarily for everyone.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the holiday is called President's Day. Everybody might not have President's Day off.
Yeah. And ours is Family Day, but you're right.
Not on everybody. Monday?
Yeah. But not everybody gets the day off for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's only one time out of the whole year for Canadians to have Family Day?
Yeah. So if you have a family, you got to get it in. Just one day.
And everybody's out. School's out.
No, schools are out, but not all workplaces are out. I think like government offices and banks and things like that are out, but not all workplaces are out, right? So, yeah, but I don't got to worry about that. So, the conversation tonight, because I have to look at our notes because I totally forgot already. The power of believing in yourself. Jamon, let me ask you a question. When you were younger, what were you afraid of?
When I was younger, what was I afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Disappointing my family and friends.
Aw.
That's what I was afraid of, which was not, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
But I would have to say that's what it was, disappointing my family and friends. So it was people pleasing. And I think we talked about it before, and just making sure everyone is happy with me and I'm doing things that make them happy and they're not upset or sad, or I'm disappointing them, or I'm not meeting the mark that they want me to meet, like having all A's and one B. And they're like, if you get all A's and everything else, why do you have this one B? And it's just kind of like, oh, just when I thought I was, like, it's just like certain things like that. Or trying to show up for friends and doing as much as I can. And then your mom says, those people are just using you. They're not your real friends. And it's just kind of like,
Ooh.
I think they're my real friends.
Right?
They
Like
make
we
me
hang out all
feel
the time.
good.
We sit together.
Right.
We
They
dance
make me
together.
feel good. What do you mean
Yeah.
they're not my real friends? But you know how
Yeah.
adults see things totally different on how you navigate relationships and friendships at a young age. But I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with pleasing my, not being able to please or keep them happy, my family and friends, or doing something that will make them upset, or not doing what they want me to do because they asked me to do it, even if it wasn't something I really wanted to do, knowing that they would then turn around and probably, make you feel bad because you don't want to do what it is that they want you to do, versus exploring the conversation of why not, why wouldn't you want to do it, or what's holding you back, or what else would you like to do versus this. I would have to go with that's something that I feared at a young age. What about you?
I was going to ask you what age, but
Okay.
because you brought up your grades, because I at a young age, we wouldn't know to define it as people pleasing. Maybe the young kids now, but at our younger age, we wouldn't have known to define it as people pleasing. We're like just doing what our parents told us to do. But as soon as you mentioned A's and B's, then clearly you're like a schoolyard and expect school child, school age. But also when you mentioned your parents saying those aren't your real friends, that usually happened when we were growing up, right? So you weren't a young adult. I'm going to think about mine in a second, but I'm going to put a question in your head, and I think your answer is already yes. I was going to ask you the fear that you had when you were younger. Do you think it carried into your childhood, into your adult life? So pause there, okay? And what was I afraid of? You know what? I think I remember a very specific thing. I want to say, I can't say speaking up, but I do think that there was a time I was afraid of expressing something I created. Now, this is not all the time because I was always in like arts and crafts and doing all kinds of things, creating things. And I think I may have mentioned this on a previous talk where I wrote a song to like like you'd get a keyboard and it already has like a whole song on it, but I actually wrote out the words to a song. And like to perform that, I had practice and practice and practice and practice. And to perform that, I had like stage fright, even though there was no stage. It's just me and my classmates and my teacher. And I completely shut down. Um, so I wanted to see if we could make that line from like childhood. And so I think we still have Cynthia and Nat. Put in the chat what your childhood fear was. Put in the chat what your childhood fear was. And even if you know a name for it now, like people pleasing, we did not know that as children, right? We just were
Making
doing
everybody happy. Didn't want to make anyone upset with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you feel like your fears have carried over? So Giovanni, you said yes. Do you feel like more than one of your childhood fears have carried over into your adult life?
I think so. I think people pleasing at a young age looks, you really have to kind of challenge that thought process as an adult. As an adult, it looks like coworkers, coworkers that may not get in alignment with your leadership or push back on what it is that you're trying to do. And it's kind of like, okay, If I can show up for you, do this, do that, what is wrong? Why can't you get behind it? Why can't you believe in what I'm trying to do? Why can't you show up for students the way I would like you to show up for? Why do you have this type of belief? And it's just kind of like, I want to make sure I appreciate and value you, because I want you to then turn around and show me that same type of energy back. And when you don't, I start to kind of take it personal. And then it's like, Giovanni, why take it personal? You didn't do anything to them. Why would you want to, try to please them? You're here for a job. At the end of the day, these people are just showing you who they are. Receive them for who they are and what they're showing you, not take anything personal. And it goes back into that 4 Agreements book. So I would say that one, because then that starts making me kind of doubt myself and what I'm doing and how I show up when you don't get in alignment. And it's just kind of like, why? But 2, I could kind of see one of the things that I didn't do a good job with as childhood was boundary setting. And I really had to get intentional with just setting boundaries, not only for myself, but also my belief, my confidence, and then just kind of like how I talk to myself and what I believe about myself. I had to create a different vibe for me when it came to that I couldn't seek outside validation. I had to pour it into me and believe it in myself first, instead of always asking, are you happy? Do you like this? Do you want, like all of this extra things when it comes to validation seeking? I had to pour into me when it came to that. So I had to start believing in myself, loving on myself. And I realized it was an inside job. And as a child, it was an outside thing because I wanted that external validation, extrinsic motivation, to be able to do the things that I wanted to do, or the things that people wanted me to do, or just to achieve simple goals. It was always an outside versus inside. Now it's an inside thing, and I want it all on the outside.
But it makes sense as a child, right? Because our parents are raising us, and our parents are giving us permission to do things, and they're setting the boundaries in their household, right? They're setting the rules that we need to abide by as we're growing. It's not like we're going to know any of those things, right? Um, at at a child age. And then there's things, because we're children, we're a bit curious, so we push we push the limits to see, well, what can we get away with. Even sometimes we don't even know that's what we're actually doing. We're just having fun and just being a kid and all that jazz there. So it makes sense, but I guess it depends on also how open our parents are when it comes to um, allowing us to explore without going too far, right? So it definitely makes sense. It looks like Nat said, when I was very brave, I was a very brave child in so many ways, however, afraid to ask for help, to not be embarrassed because I was the bully. So I played it off and it reflected in my grades. I hear you. So wait, Nat, did you just say you were the bully?
And while she's responding to that question, so we get a little bit more insight, I think that was something very powerful you just said when you say your parents allowed you to explore. I think it's one thing to have parents place you in extracurricular activities just to get you exposed to different things. It's a different thing for your parents to allow you to explore your thought process, explore your identity, explore your interests, your hobbies to a whole different level. And I think that is really key, because if you're given that freedom and that space to really explore, you won't be so hard on yourself. You won't be so strict and tight with your
you're going too far, too fast, Giovanni. You're 100%. You're going to the end of the talk too fast.
You're right. Tossed the assist. I just was like, oh, that's a good point. Like that makes perfect sense. It can definitely go into your parenting style, how that child starts to believe in themselves and how they love themselves and what they know about themselves. But go ahead.
No, you're 100% right. You're 1000% right. And I love that you actually took it there, because so you said, like, if the parents allow us to explore, like, it depends on their parenting style, and to get to know what we like, that exploring needs to happen. So if you are fortunate enough to live in a household where, and I think you and I've talked about the different activities, not everybody has had the same childhood experience. But if you were fortunate enough to have that type of childhood experience where you could try different things, so explore. Um, Maybe you're not as fearful. Or if you were the child that was, even if you didn't have the financial resources, like your household didn't have the financial resources, but you were still allowed to explore on your own with your own creativity and your own imagination.
I got you. I agree. I
Here,
got.
here, the duo is back. I
Not yet.
know this would be, I know this would be a great for our girl Nayera to weigh in
Mm-hmm.
on as well, because her parenting style is quite different from a lot of the typical parenting styles that we have grown up with. So Nayera, I'm going to ask you, and then we'll continue the conversation, see what you respond. Nayera, what was your fear as a child, and do you think that fear has been crossed over into your adult life? Okay, Giovanni. So here's my next question for you.
Nat said she was the
She was
bully.
a bully.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go with that because, like,
I kind of
you
do,
better.
but I feel like I do. I want to learn a little bit more. I want to know, what do you feel like, because this is your childhood, what do you think created or triggered the bully in you? Because I know a lot of times
Ooh.
people say that, bullies are really trying to heal a certain area in their place, but they don't know
Mhm.
how to cope with it. And so it's really this misplaced emotion that they
Mhm.
tend to kind of lash out into to other people. Um, but I just really want to know what really made you feel led to be that bully, because I feel like there was a reason why you chose to do that, especially now that in your adulthood you're showing people how to reset.
Mhm.
And
And
that's really
actually,
what bullies need, is the opportunity to reset.
yeah. And Nat, while you go there, I'm curious if you were the first. I don't know if you have siblings, Nat. So let us know if you have siblings and if you were the eldest child, because you might, or if you were, no, you're not the eldest child, because you might have been bullied from the eldest child. And because usually that's what happens, right? The older one kind of picks on the younger one, and then that child, because you can't fight back in your house, you go outside of your house and you start bullying everybody else, right? So, or if you're the youngest one and you feel like, if you're the oldest one and you feel like your parents are giving everything to the youngest one and you're not getting your way in the house, so you go outside and you're like, start bullying other people. So before we go into Nat's story, because I know she's putting in her answers there, oh, I think we might as well just go there because I kind of lost my train of thought there. But,
Oh,
let's see.
I
So
know
anybody
that's
that's on Instagram, if you want to jump into the conversation, because both Giovanni and I, even though she's live on, we're both on YouTube. So if you come on over to the YouTube channel, I can see your answers here, but Giovanni can't see them. So if you're
what
on
what they
Instagram and you,
saying.
nobody said anything yet, I don't see any comments
Oh,
there.
about to
I'm
say,
just
don't
seeing
leave
people.
us out.
No, I'm trying to get them in with us. Come on over, join the conversation. We're talking about embracing your power, but I really want to kind of understand like the root cause of our affairs first before we even go into embracing.
Well, you see Nayetta's response.
Yeah, I mean, certain households was given out. We call it in the Caribbean, we call it licks. So I got that threat a lot. I've never been hit with that particular item, but I
Me
got the
either.
threat of that, right? And so, you know,
Not that item, but definitely one similar to it that we
mhm,
use in our pants or
mhm.
switch. But
So,
what I love about Nayetta though is that, like you said about parenting styles, I feel like her kids have no fears
but that's good.
as
But that's when
children, and I think that is a
yeah.
beautiful thing, because I feel like they're not going to know any real type of restrictions when it comes to doing the things that they dream to do. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and that's a testament to who she is as a mom, as well
Mhm,
as not only as a mom, but who she is as a person and her
yeah,
belief in her children.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
think
that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's so important when you do allow that, because some of us go either way, right? Like as a parent, if you grew up in that household and you were getting spankings, and we weren't calling them spankings, what we were getting was more than spankings. And I always kind of say the dotted line to that is right. But when you grow up in that household, when you become a young adult or a young parent, not a young adult, a young parent or a parent, you go one or two ways. You're either going to go far away from what you experience because you don't want your child to experience what you felt and what you experienced, or you're going to go the other way because it raised you and you turned out fine, right? So you're going to go one way or another. So it's great when we see the parents that are able. It's funny because we would hear our parents. I don't know if you had your parents ever used to say to you, use your words, use your words. But then the only words we got was, you better stop crying. I'm going to give you something to cry for. So, yeah.
Agreed. Girl, I even be in here telling Spencer to use his words sometimes when I be talking to him. And if he ever say a word, I don't know what I'll do. In regards to that. Mm-hmm. But okay, Nat. Mm-hmm. I feel you. So there were definitely some triggers. There were some environmental shifts that happened. I could see that. I feel you. She was the second child. Okay.
Yeah, I read through hers. So when we go through,
I didn't think it was anything about being the oldest child. I was seeing where Shireen was going to go with that, because as the eldest, I don't see any of that type of bullying activity for me when it comes to my siblings.
Not as
I can see where you would come from.
I guess it depends on like what's happening in the house, right? But yeah, if you're the second, if you're after the first, it doesn't matter, second, third, fourth, you could experience it because you're being bullied from the older one, right? But if you're the first, you might feel like you're not being good enough for your parent, so you might turn around and bully your siblings, right? Or bully outside of the household, right? You mentioned about like, now Giovanni, that you don't need to look outside of yourself for things. But just thinking about like the fears that you had growing up, when do you think you started making that change?
I would have to say when I got tired of feeling like I could never do any right. Like there's always some type of issue or pushback or situation where somebody wants you to do this, do that, do this, do that. And it was like, you know what? Let me just do for myself. Let me just.
As an adult?
Yeah. Like,
you know, as a young adult or as an older adult?
Younger adult. Like, so into your 20s, going into your 30s. And it was just like, you know what? Let me just stop sitting here trying to, show up here, there, do this, do that. Let me start showing up for me. And I think when I started showing up for me and I started locking into who I wanted to be and exploring that person and finding things that I enjoyed, living on my own, having my own space, it just allowed me to really just to connect with myself. And then you start building that confidence in yourself when you got to pay your own bills, and and you got to figure out how to get here and there. And like you talked about your car, and if your car is not working, then you might need to get on your bicycle and still make some things shake until you can get that car figured out.
I won't be getting no bicycles.
I did, but I don't have a problem with it. But it's just kind of like when you start taking care of yourself and you really start connecting with yourself and you're loving yourself, you start doing more for you. You realize that you should be number one and not everybody else, And I know a lot of times people, and it's no, I'm not trying to say that it's wrong or right, but sometimes people say like family over everything. No, you over everything, and you'll be able to show up for your family and your friends over everything. And so I just had to make that pivot for me because it wasn't healthy, and it wasn't making me feel the best that I could feel for myself. And when I started showing up for myself, then I started being able to show up for my students. And when I showed up for my students, it made me feel better about who I was as a person. And it kind of goes back into what Tabitha Brown said last Friday. And it was, once you start living freely, you can't go back to living any other kind of way. And things just really start attracting you, and you get in alignment to all the things of purpose and passion, and you just feel so good to be you. And I just love the fact that I'm grateful that I'm now able to live freely, and it feels good because the love that I get, and the things that I attract, I could never have been able to take advantage of it and embrace it if I wasn't embracing myself and I wasn't who I am right now. So I just think that, long story short, when I got tired of being unhappy with not being happy, and it started with me not choosing me first, which caused the shift.
Yeah, I think that especially if we were talking, like, when you say these things, I think about like specifically people pleasing, right? Because it's and there's tons of other fears, right? Like I mentioned, not speaking up, right? Tons of other fears that that come into our adult life. But when we think about people pleasing, it's just like, you do something for other people and you leave with this feeling of like, like, why am I'm not getting what I need out of this, right? Or like you're just not happy, so that you're not fulfilling yourself, right? It just sits on you. So hey,
So
Chris,
heavy.
good evening.
So
Come on
heavy.
over to YouTube. We're over on YouTube. You can join the conversation with both Giovanni and I. Yeah, it just sits on you. So,
and I think, Shireen, when it sits on you, you can't even go and look like it's someone else's fault, because
no,
it's
it's
still, at
yours.
the end of the day, your choice, your decision to continue to, overextend yourself or continue to show up for others instead of showing up for you. And I think it's taking that power back that matters the most.
Yeah.
When you start to realize why you're unhappy, and you really got to say, okay, what can I do in regards to my unhappiness to turn this thing around or make some pivots? And again, it goes back to what we talk about almost every episode, and then giving yourself grace, knowing the part that you played in something that you didn't like.
We got Chris saying on Instagram, like, go where you're celebrated. But sometimes that's not easy to like things. And he's saying things need to be reciprocated, like in context, right?
100%,
Sometimes,
Chris.
but sometimes that is not always easy, especially when we talk about family. Like when it comes to friends, when it comes to coworkers, when it comes to acquaintances, that's a little bit easier. But then sometimes you have like this obligated feeling. And this is again only, I don't want to zone only into people pleasing because we're just talking about that one right now, but there's so many other fears, and really we want to talk about the empower of embracing yourself. So from specifically people pleasing, this makes sense, right? But it's not always that easy when it comes to some family members, because maybe they don't understand why you're not doing what you typically do or how you would typically be, because when you were people pleasing, they were fine. They were fine with it, right? And you knew what you were not feeling, right? What you weren't getting out of it.
I like what Chris said, and I'm all on that, because when he said, like, go where you're celebrated, to me, it used to be go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. And I used to say that when I would go back home, from like when I lived in Jacksonville, and I go back home to South Carolina, and I would stay certain places, I would be asked, well, why don't you want to stay over here? Or why don't you want to stay over there? And it's just like, I'm going where people who come see me, like where it's reciprocated, just what he said. People that don't mind coming to visit and see me in Jacksonville, and then I don't mind coming back and seeing them. You want to continue to show up for people who show up for you. And it's not that you don't want to see the other people. You're going to see them, but I'm just not going to stay with you. I'm not going to prioritize being with people who never prioritize being with me. And and that right there, Chris, I totally get it, especially when it comes to your family members, and when you're showing up. You can love all of your family, but you definitely want to be in a space where people are celebrating you, loving on you, vibing with you, and they're just happy to be around you, and not for what you can do for them, or the fact that you just showing up just so they can say, you here for them, or, oh, I'm so glad they over here with that.
Well, also that they're okay when you say no.
Aren't those people beautiful?
Yeah,
Aren't
like
those people
when
really
they
beautiful?
realize
Who
that
can
like
respect your
you're
no?
okay when you say no, right? And Chris, he keeps adding more. Chris, I just told you, you need to come over here. He keeps adding more, right? About, go with people that like add and multiply to you and, don't take away from you.
Yes, Chris.
Um, and how you can love people from a distance. Okay, so let's go on that love people from a distance then.
Mhm.
If
That's a
you
beautiful place.
if yeah, yeah, it is. If you are have you let go of some friends and family because of things that you need to overcome and you choosing you first? Let's just keep it simple.
I would definitely, I would never say I would let go of them. I would just say I
Not let
created
go, but
space.
hmm
I created healthy space for me
yeah.
to still love them. And yeah, I created healthy space for that because I needed it for me. And it wasn't
hmm
a jab to them or whatever decisions they made. It was what I needed for me. And if
hmm
you're too close to things that are toxic for you and or stunting the growth that you have and you want to see within yourself, you are okay. You are at a point in your life where you can give yourself that freedom to let certain baggage and weight go. And if they really do love you and care about you, they'll be right there for you when you send a text message or a call or you see them and you embrace them with a hug and you just want to tell them I love you and I'm grateful for you. They're okay with that because
yeah,
they know that the love is real. And just
yeah.
because there's space there doesn't mean that the level of love and the quality of love
And none of
that you
that
have
has
for them
changed.
has changed at all. It's
None of
just
that
not
has
what
changed.
you need close by in order for you to do what you need to do in the season of your life. And you have to know that for yourself. But if
Yeah.
it's those people who are being intentional about pushing people away and then constantly talking about those stories or bringing up certain things, that's what's toxic. And that's not you really choosing yourself. That's just you choosing to be nasty and messy and constantly want to throw in people's face how they shortcomed you. There's a different maturity level that comes with that type of distancing yourself, in my opinion.
So would you, oh, here's Chris. Hey, Chris. Frequency event promotions is Chris.
Hey,
Um,
welcome to the live, Chris.
So then I'll go back to our original question, right? Because we
Okay.
don't want to stay just on people pleasing.
Not
Do
at
you
all.
feel like you are embracing your full power?
Sometimes.
But that's
Sometimes.
real though. That's real because it's not always going to be a yes. Do you
Not at
okay,
all.
so if it's do you think it's fear holding you back or something else?
For me, it's always going to be three things. It's either going to be fear, it's going to be uncertainty, or it's going to be doubt. And one, doubt,
hmm
uncertainty, and fear. Why? Because it's something I've never done before or something I've never seen before. So I'm embracing something new. And there's no proof or
hmm
comfort in the embrace of this new thing.
Something
So I
new.
have no idea what it's going to look like. Sometimes I'm really encouraging and I'm just bold and I'm just out there and I'm doing it. Then, okay, let's go for it. But then there's
Mhm.
other times where I have to step back and be like, well, what will people even want this? Am I even someone that can help other people? Can I impact change? Am I someone that can really help people long term with this or that? Am I who I believe I am for other people?
Mhm.
And then it's just kind of like, yeah, you've done it already before. Like,
Yeah.
what is wrong with you? But it's because it's new to you. And if it's new to you, then it's not comfortable and it's not familiar. So that's where my fear, my uncertainty, or possible doubt kind of
Mhm.
rises up in when it comes to doing those new things that have never been done before.
Yeah, for me, I would say some of it is also like if I start overthinking things, right? Um, that can play into it. So I could play myself in that sense, right? When I'm that I might stop myself from embracing my full power. I can acknowledge it, right? And even acknowledging takes time. Like we talk about mindset almost every single time we talk because that's really where it comes that believing in yourself and what you're feeding yourself. And sometimes your mind can feed some really not necessarily. Sometimes your mind can feed some negative stuff, but that self doubt, right? Sometimes your mind, you just start overthinking and you can spiral out. Um, so it can prevent you from embracing your power, right?
Agree. I totally agree. And you say acknowledging, it could also be awareness. just aware of those thoughts, those beliefs, and those feelings that really don't align with where it is that you're trying to go. And it's eliminating those things. So like Chris said, unlocking our potential taps into that awesomeness that we're able to do. And we've seen it, you know, as entrepreneurs, as podcasters, as creators. We've been fearful, we've been uncertain. We don't like to get on camera, to just be live any kind of way, any other time, feeling comfortable with that or confident. We don't know everything we're going to say. We don't know what it looks like, but I think it's showing up one day at a time and trying to be in that right state of mind to be able to say, hey, I deserve this, I deserve that. This is who I am. I have this much power to claim this, that, and the fourth, and just doing it. Like, you know, just doing it. I'm a teacher, but today I'm gonna show my students just how much they should love themselves. When they come in here and they're doubting something, I'm gonna remind them how powerful they are, how smart they are, how beautiful they are, how great of a friend they are. If the girl drama is going around and somebody doesn't want to be their friend anymore, like that's just what I'm gonna be today. I might not teach them everything they need to know about in life, but I'm going to show them that they're still a human and that they still are someone who should be loved, should be cared about, and who should be respected. And I'm going to see them as such. I am an accountability partner. So sometimes
hold on, let me jump in. Let me jump in,
baby.
Yeah, let me jump in. And I think you're frozen on my screen. I was trying to see if you're frozen on both screens, but I'm not certain. Like, I think you are. Am I frozen on your screen or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So maybe it's just it. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi, but you're frozen on my screen. But I can still hear you clearly.
Maybe I'm frozen for everybody else too.
I don't know. If you can, drop in the chat if you can see Giovanni moving or not. But we can definitely hear her. Sometimes it's that imposter syndrome, right? Because you see other people doing. You touched on it when you said entrepreneur, but it could be in like different aspects. Oh yeah, you're frozen. Okay, Nikki said you're frozen. Hey, Nikki. Sometimes it can be that imposter syndrome because you see other people doing, and then you start questioning if you can do as well. And I know that we talk about it from an entrepreneur standpoint a lot, but even oh, I don't know if we lost her. Oh, no. Oh, you're moving now.
I'm still here. I was just trying to unfreeze or something. I'm still
Okay.
frozen.
No, yeah, it worked. No, that worked. That worked. That totally worked.
Frozen.
Yeah, girl, you're moving. You're moving. I know that even like in my younger age of like my career, I think I had it like a imposter syndrome, even though I didn't really know I had it. Like I don't have a degree, right? And so for the longest time, I wanted to like go back to school, but I was a young mom, so going to university, and I've tried it, going to university and have my child and being a single mom, all that jazz. There, it's a lot. But then you see everybody else kind of climbing the ladder you want to climb, right? So that imposter syndrome can hit in different avenues, whether you're an entrepreneur. And then at some point, I just stopped caring. And when the interest in accomplishing something became more important than the fear or acknowledging what everybody else had, and when it was more about, well, what can I learn? What can I do? And it wasn't even me like believing in myself. It was like more like, I'm curious still. So let me just try to figure this out. And then let me just try to figure this out. And before I knew it, I'd climbed that corporate ladder, right? Like, not even acknowledging. And then at one point I was like, wait a minute, I'm no longer scared of this. And I no longer have that imposter syndrome. So how do we take that acknowledgement and then move it to a different aspect of our life, like entrepreneurship or some other aspect where you're feeling it, so that we can embrace our power? And I don't expect you to have all the answers. We're just having a conversation. But, I don't think I'm always embracing my full power. I know I'm not. Right? So
I think sometimes it takes knowing just a little bit about yourself, matching it up with the dreams and the things you want to pursue, and taking it to someone who really cares about you, sees you, understands you, and allowing them to help you embrace that area that you might feel a little bit of imposter syndrome with. Because
So,
I
sorry, can
think
you say that again? I missed it. Can you say it one more time? Sorry, I missed that. Say it again. Yeah, I missed it. Say it again, girl. People miss things.
they do.
I was saying that.
I
I
just
was
have to
saying,
remember what I said, because
oh,
that's what I
I'm
tell
like,
my
oh
students.
no, don't
I
get mad at me. I
said
missed it.
I tell my students that all the time, and they be like, "Okay, well, what did you just say, Miss Ford?" I say, "You got to drop it when." I say, "You got to pick it up when I
Oh,
drop it, because I might not remember it."
okay. Maybe
Um,
somebody else heard.
but I was just saying, sometimes it means taking the little bit that you do believe in when it comes to yourself, taking that along with like your aspirations, your dreams, the things that you really want to accomplish, to someone who really sees you, believes in you, and loves you, and truly supports you unconditionally, and allowing them to be vulnerable with you, but at the same time, encourage and empower you to remove that imposter syndrome, remove that self doubt, remove that uncertainty, remove that fear, because on the outside looking in, they might be able to push you into those places and encourage you along the way to where you kind of get out your own way on some things. So I think that's why sometimes it takes having a village, having a good support system, because you can't do it all on yourself, because you're going to have those moments where you might not be as strong in your belief as you want to, or as much of a beast as you could, for whatever those triggers are for why you're choosing to have somewhat of an imposter syndrome. I think that's what I was saying.
No, well, you said it good, girl. You said it good. I think it's great if you have that community or you have that support. But in the cases when you where you don't, um, I think I think like that's when you kind of seek out like maybe the books that can help you. I know that when I was growing up, I used to always go to like the library, and we have a store out here called like Indigo. It's a bookstore, and I don't know why, but I would always gravitate to the self help books, right? And good night, Nat. I would always
Sweet
gravitate to those.
dreams.
Yeah, I would always gravitate to those self help books. Um, and I didn't realize that, not until like recently, that those self help books were building my confidence. Um, they were feeding into me for me to believe in myself, right? I don't even know. I have a theory now why I was seeking out those self help books, right? I was young. I ran away from home, right, at a very young age. And when you are spending time by yourself, you might not have, you have your friends, but you don't talk about everything with your friends. You don't discuss everything, especially when you're young, right? You're still trying to figure out yourself. So if you don't have that circle, or you don't have the community, even that close friend that you feel comfortable discussing things with, I think just like looking for the books that can feed into you as well. Or now we have the internet. Back then we didn't have the internet. That can also be helpful to kind of feed your mind, right? I know it was helpful for me. It was very
It has
helpful.
been for me too. I think that self help books are definitely supportive for your thought process, as well as your perspective. It definitely helps you shift some things around, being able to stimulate your mind and just be quiet, and be
Mhm,
still while reading. Another thing I feel like when you're unable to have that support system on the outside looking in, is just take a step back and really just spend some time with yourself, connect with yourself on a deeper
mhm,
level. So then that way, you get back in touch with you, and who
mhm.
you really are. Because sometimes in this world, life just be lifing, and you get all caught up, and you're thinking that you're still in alignment with what it is that you want to do and who you are, forgetting that you're so influenced by so many other things and stuff that's happening around you. You start
Right.
getting off track because there's so many other things in front of you and in your vision that's moving. And sometimes it's
Mm,
that inflection time where you're taking that step back and you're looking at, who am I? What do I want? Breathe, be still, What do I need to do for me? How do I show up for me? And I think it's that time of connecting with yourself, that's just as important as when being able to connect with other people if you have that support system. So I think that's
100%. My grandmother always used to say, "Be still." Like those were her words for us, and I can only speak for myself. Those were her words for me. She would always say, "Be still, be still." In those moments, those unrestful moments when your mind is kind of just taken over, right? Um, and you don't acknowledge, like, sure, your mind can. It's almost like sure, your mind can have you going down the doubt path. But if you have a method of recentering, right, that's where the be still part comes in. And for me, I enjoy being in nature. I enjoy being, I'm a summer baby. I enjoy being by the water. That really calms me. Um, but even, being in nature, like hiking and things like that, um, allows me and helps me to calm my mind and then my thoughts, and then it's easier to kind of like feed back into me. Um, I really enjoy this conversation. It still doesn't, I don't think we've still hit what stops us from embracing our full self. So we talked about our fears, we talked about how to believe in ourselves and how we can be still and just little things like that that we can do. But what stops us from, and I don't expect you to have all the answers, but why do you think we're still not embracing all of our greatness? Like, we're doing the things, and we have each other as community, and we have a great sisterhood, right? And I know we are actually we're moving extremely aggressive. Like, I know this already. So, but there's still moments. And maybe we don't need an answer. Maybe it's more like in those moments, it's just like recognizing that fear or recognizing the doubt and then just getting out of it quickly. What do you think? And yeah, Chris is saying the fear of the unknown. I don't know, because the unknown doesn't really scare me. Like, I feel like I'm manifesting. I feel like I am a master manifester. I am manifesting the things that I want and it's happening. But I guess the moment is maybe it's just natural. And once we can like acknowledge it and get out of it quickly, check ourselves and keep it pushing, maybe that's good enough. And maybe we just, I don't know. Because there's some people I feel like they just go.
I think you just have to be ready. And a lot of times people say they want something, but they're not necessarily ready
To
to
receive it.
actually get what it is that they say they want.
Mhm.
So I feel like for me, the answer would just be we're not embracing um, our true power and belief in ourselves because we're really not ready for ourselves to take over that full capacity of what it is that we say we want and who we believe we are. And I think once we are in that position and in that place of confidence and readiness, and when I say readiness, I'm speaking from top to bottom. I'm talking from thought process to mindset to action to implementation. So you're ready to take one step after the next step after the next step, not just one step and pause. And
Mm-hmm.
then another step and pause. It's when you are truly ready to do what it is that you say you want to do with all gas, no brakes. When you're really, really ready, not just thinking that you're ready, but you're really, really ready. I think it's the timing of the mature person or the mature self to go after exactly what it is that they know they really want. And it's clear. The
Mm-hmm.
clarity is there, the vision is there, and they're ready to do whatever it takes to get there. It's in the timing, I believe.
I think you're right because I do believe in the power of, like, I do think everything happens for a reason. So if you're not mentally ready, even if it comes, even if you want something and you're not mentally ready and it comes, you might not even be able to hold on to it,
Agreed.
right? Or you might not know how to hold on to it, right?
Agreed.
Right. I do believe in the power of timing. Um,
Wholehearted.
yeah. And maybe that's it. Like maybe because I do also believe in the process. right? So maybe in that process, you have to
Has to
keep
be an
go-
evolution.
you
Has to be
exactly.
an
But
evolution.
before you evolve in it, you have to keep going through that cycle until you decide to make a change. Consciously decide to make a change so that the next time it comes back to you, you don't miss it, right? And you don't learn that. And until you learn that, you will keep going through that cycle, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, all right. So if you are you ready, Giovanni?
Ready for what? What we doing?
Are you ready to embrace your full power, girl? If you are ready,
That
if
is
you are
exactly
ready,
right. I'm with you. Frequency event promotion. That's Chris, yeah.
that's Chris. Yeah,
That's
they
exact.
say I think
They're
that's
not
5 people
ready.
here unlocking
Mm-hmm.
their potential because they're not ready. So
They're not
Giovanni, are
ready.
you ready?
I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready.
Are you ready
Ready?
to embrace your full power maintenant today?
I'm getting
Aujourd'hui.
there. I'm
Yeah.
getting there. I'm
Yeah.
truly getting there. And I'm getting excited. And you know why I know I'm getting there, Shireen? And it
Mm.
goes back to how we opened this up in regards to what you're grateful for. I know I'm getting ready because I'm shooting my shot. And the shots that I'm taking,
Mm.
some of them I am making swish all net. And it has been such a rewarding experience. Making
Yes.
connections with people, being able to have guests on the podcast, which is eventually building out my network and finding people that have the same type of vibes and frequencies that just want people to heal and are passionate about their healing journeys. I know I'm getting ready
I love that.
because I'm in the space of getting ready, and I'm okay with that. And I'm loving the progression. I'm loving the journey thus far, and I get excited because I know that I am going to get to my fullest potential. But I
Mhm.
know it is a process, and I know it is a journey. So I don't expect to wake up tomorrow being a 7, 8 figure
I don't even know how to write
CEO
this
of anything
myself.
like this. I'm starting where I'm at, and it's starting with myself and with people that are of love, that are of peace, and that are with happiness, but of definitely those that are rooted in health. So I'm all for this.
That was me hearting. That was me liking that because I had no other way.
Oh
So
my gosh. Let
that was me liking that message.
so
That was me.
are you ready?
Yeah, I am. And I
Let me toss
am.
it back to
I'm
you.
getting there too. And you know why I'm getting there? Because you're right. Like, not only we are like progressing and we talk about this process, but we are creating the environment ourselves. We are creating that table itself, right? That table to be ready, right? And I think that I can talk for us in our circle, right? Because we are creating our own table, our own path. We are literally feeding into each other and feeding into ourselves. We can't help but like just get where we're going. So yeah, I'm definitely on that same path with you, girl, of like I'm getting there like closer and closer. And I think it's also because I'm doing more. And not only am I doing more, like when you say, "Oh, I want to manifest this, I want to," or I want," or I wish. I think the greatest thing is like when you start seeing those manifestations that you have written down or you have said come to light, come to fruition, and come quickly, like very, very quickly. That's when you're like, shoot, I'm really doing what I said I was going to do. Like, and it's happening so quickly. And I think I can confidently answer I'm getting there because I see those things happening, right? And I see it happening so, so quickly. And I'm like, damn. And I do these recordings for myself. Um and I mean I'm gonna start releasing them, but I do these recordings to myself for myself. And I talk about things that I've learned or things that are happening, and it's happening so quickly that I can't even get it out as quickly to share as I would love to because it's moving so fast. So yes, Giovanni, I'm gonna answer your question. I'm right here with you, girl. I'm ready. I'm not even gonna say I'm getting ready. I'm ready. I'm not even gonna say I'm getting. I am ready. So then I'm gonna ask the people in our comments, whether you're on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, or is that it? Does that cover all of our?
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, those three platforms. That's all we're showing on right now. Um, are you ready? Are you embracing your full power? And like answer that question honestly to yourself, whether or not you share it with us. Ooh, Nikki said, yeah.
Yeah, let's go,
Um,
Nikki.
right? Are you are you ready? And if you've answered to yourself, you're not sure. Oh, so wait. We got some people in the Jama Face said yes, right? Right, Abby? Abby's over on Instagram and she's saying yes, 100% you're ready. If you're answering that you're not sure, if you're answering that there's that fear still,
For that
is
uncertainty.
that fear like I want you to take some time to identify if that fear is the fear that you had as a child and if it's still just like sitting with you and what you need to do to like release that. Whether that means you stand up some boundaries, whether that means you put things in place where you self reflect and, as Giovanni says, you love on yourself. Like, what do you need to do so that you can answer that question to yourself as yes? Giovanni, you're frozen again, girl.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, I don't
goodness.
know what's
You sending
happening.
your cold winter storm vibes all the way
It
over
did
here?
not. No, heck no, heck no. And no, because before I got even to the studio, it started raining. So it's not my vibes, girl. It's not the Canadian
Woo!
storm. It's not the Canadian
Am
storm
I
hitting
back?
you. No.
I'm still not back yet. I'm still frozen.
Yeah, you're a bit frozen, girl.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Can you hear me though?
Oh, we can hear you. We can definitely hear you. And I could see when you turn it off and on. But Giovanni, I really appreciated this conversation because we're still in the very early part of this year. You there, girl?
You don't see me?
Mm-mm. I
We
see
are.
you. I see a picture of you.
Okay, hold on.
Mhm. Oh, you're good. You're good. Move a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, dance a little. There you go. See, because you weren't doing that. Because you weren't doing that. Next time, I'm gonna need you to like snake it out.
Girl, I was about to leave the studio. You hear me? You saved
Um,
me.
you saved yourself, girl. You good. Um, I feel like we're in the beginning of the year, and it's a great time to do a check in. What day are we on? We're February the 15th. It's a great day to do a self check in and ask yourself if you're embracing your full power. What you think, girl? What you think?
I definitely think I'm doing more this February 15th than I did last February 15th.
I
So
hear
I'm going
that.
to say I'm getting better at this thing. I am going
Yeah,
to definitely say I'm getting better at embracing it.
love that
And
for
I
you.
think I'm loving it. I'm loving the person
Yes.
that I'm becoming. I'm loving the journey. I could see how the decrease of fear, uncertainty, and doubt is shredding since before we first released the podcast. Before when we were just trying to figure it out as podcast ambassadors, and who we are now. I can only I can't wait to see what we look like in July at
You're gonna
our
be
second podcast summit, just
fire.
to see what we look at because I know we've matured. And so I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for the growth that I've seen in myself, the growth I've seen in my business, the growth I've seen into just being visible and vocal and just being myself and having people love on me and me loving on people. Some that I've never even met before. until, they join the podcast episode, or they with us on Herbal Tea Thursdays, and we can just be one, be family, be love, and we just vibe. So I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. I'm getting courageous.
Yeah.
More courage than fear, baby.
Exactly. I was gonna say I would
more discipline than doubt, baby. Come on. Come on. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Shereen. My bad.
That's okay. I was gonna say that I would close us out how we typically do it, but we're just flowing with it today. So I don't even know how to wrap this up. I would just say join us again.
I think you did a good job.
I think
you made me feel like you were giving like the benediction to church. So
yeah. I'm gonna pass around the plate though. I'm gonna pass around
like 5 minutes ago. You see, Nikki, me too. I'm ready. She didn't say yes, Pastor. I'm ready. You done gave the benediction. You might as well just let us go ahead.
The congregation say amen.
They already did. They already did. So I think
bars.
I think so. So I guess nothing less to say, but y'all, yesterday, I don't know, was it episode 23?
Ooh,
I don't know. Lying. But I had a Black author on my podcast. So the episode that dropped yesterday was a Black author who had a book where her main character had polycystic ovary syndrome. And as an author, she was able to create a story, fiction, through her journey with fibroids. And so I had an amazing conversation with her. So tune into the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast that drops an episode every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Times on all podcast distribution platforms, and here on YouTube for Vibrations 2347.
Love it.
Check out the links in the description in this video, y'all, and keep vibing with me.
And I will say that Voices and Vibes, we have been quite busy working on our studio, and life has been lifing. So we had to take a break from Herbal Thursday for the past couple of weeks, but we're back and we will be opening up very, very soon. Very, very soon. We will be opening up the studio. We'll be sharing some of that content next week. But for anyone who has checked out our YouTube channel, we did some interviews on the weekend. We did some weekends.
Thank you, Chris. Pull back up.
We did some interviews on the weekend, interviewing the candidates or the applicants to the Dragon's Den show that we're pitching there. So check those out on YouTube. They're dropping all week long. And then, check out Voices and Vibes on all your distribution platforms, and everything's in the captions on the YouTube pages and the Facebook pages, I think, as well. So thank you again for another week. Don't miss next week. We out here.
Y'all keep being Black and keep being excellence. It's our mom.
All day long. All right, guys. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week. And that